We're standing here at the SideFX booth, makers of Houdini. I'm with Peter Clays, Effects Soup over at Method Studios, and Matt Estella, who is the effects lead over at Animal Logic. They're going to give us some insight into the importance of Houdini in today's culture. And first I want to get into a little bit about your backgrounds and how you fell into Houdini. So if you could start off there.
Sure. So I used another package for many years. And I was working at Dr. D. That was a mostly Houdini-based production, and we were using it a little bit in lighting. But around the corner were all the guys doing effects, doing really complicated stuff. And every now and then I kind of look around the corner, and what are they doing over there? Until one day I had a particular problem, and I went, oh, I bet those guys could solve it for me. And I went around, and they just kind of scoffed, went, and did a thing for me in about 30 seconds. And I went, my God! And I was trying to think, if I wanted to do this in the other package I'm using, I couldn't, and so that was sort of the first tweak, and then I stayed in the other package for a while, and it was only a couple of years ago when I had a chance to city supervise some projects that were going to be entirely Houdini based. That I said, okay, I better learn this in a hurry, and I just got a crash course with some of the other Houdini artists at Animal who were just brilliantly talented. And that was the real sort of like clincher moment. It was that sort of kind of like quick fix drugs. This is it. This is what I've been looking for my entire life.
Wow.
And I've been this sort of zealot ever since, to the real annoyance of my coworkers.
You never look back. That's great. How about you, Peter?
So for me, it was basically on my undergraduate, which was at Bournemouth University. That was the first time I kind of got used to Houdini. Before that, it was 3D Studio Max and Maya. But in the undergraduate, it was really like, okay, I want to learn this software. I think it has a great potential to, help create things that don't really exist yet. And then from there was into industry in London first in Cinesight for 2 years on John Carter, and then I joined Method 5 years ago now, and been using Houdini ever since. I mean, it's a platform for me. It helps to realize whatever directors are asking, whatever that may be. So, yeah, it's a very powerful platform.
Sounds like it's already had, or it's long since had a strong impact on both of you. Can you tell me a little bit about the importance of knowing it today, especially as a junior artist who might be looking for a job within a studio? Why should they know Houdini?
Well, first of all, to learn Houdini is to actually learn computer graphics, is to develop a deeper understanding of computer graphics. And anything that you learn within the program, as I said, yes, it's a software, but it's also a platform. So you basically develop anything that you need for that. And studios are looking for that kind of, skill, and not just looking, but it's like they're in need of people. And even traditional, 3D Studio Max houses are starting to switch to using, Houdini in their pipelines because either they can't find, junior effects 3D Studio Max talent, but and there's a lot more learning opportunities as well. There's a lot more learning materials out there these days than there were 10 years ago. So in order to work on these bigger, more complex projects and to get these effects done, we need also junior talent. It's not just senior talent. I mean, senior talent is important, but you cannot run an entire show with just senior talent. It doesn't make sense also from a cost point of view.
Right.
So and also there's a next generation of artists that is growing up, and a next generation of leads and supervisors that is coming through the studios as well. And so yeah, junior talent across the board is a requirement for that. Yeah.
That's a great response. Thank you.
Right, finish. Got to do better than that one. I mean, yeah, I suppose every Houdini person you talk to, they've got a different take on what it is or how they visualize it. And I think for me, it's a real kind of sketchpad in terms of, with most other sort of 3D apps, you are kind of taught to work that way. They kind of dictate a certain way of working. Whereas with Houdini, sort of you can have a vague seed of an idea and go, I'm just going to have a play with it, and you'll do it on a little thing, and I'll try and expand that a bit bigger, and then a bit bigger, and you can, and just the whole idea of, in terms of how easy it makes that to do. So you've got on one end software that makes it very, very easy for you to do, so simple 3D tasks, but you're locked into that. You'll be very limited. And on the other side, you might go hardcore, programming in C++ or OpenGL, but that's a lot of upfront work. Whereas Houdini strikes a really nice middle ground in terms of if you want to just put down pre-made nodes and wire them together, you can do that. If you want to get in and actually code something up, you can do it really quickly. It's just such a versatile thing. And then in terms of kind of juniors coming into the industry, it's just, I think I was really lucky in terms of when I started using Houdini, which was a couple of years ago really, that it was there, but it was a little bit background. And it's almost become a running joke with the rest of my guys from Animal who are here, that almost every single talk, they go, oh, we had this thing, we did it in Houdini. Oh, we had this other really difficult thing, we did it in Houdini. It's just, all these kind of things that used to be sort of really aggressive, custom development, people just realizing, well, we can just do this with some off-the-shelf software. And so if all the companies are now pushing this way, then that means, to do shop work, it's going to have to be backfilled with artists. And it's almost like it's been such an exponential rise in the last year or two that there's now becoming a bit of a vacuum of artists. We need people to come in and fill those places. So.
That's great, thank you. And for junior artists who might not yet know Houdini, you both have kind of touched on education, the importance of it. Where can someone go for resources and learning Houdini?
Sure. I mean, the first stop would really be the SideFX website, because there is an entire section there that is dedicated to education and tutorials, and whether those, tutorials that are free and master classes for different levels of their skill level as well. But then there's also a lot of schools now. I think they have so many more schools now that are starting to be certified, and Julie here at SideFX is doing a great job to help with the certification, and so that there's a certain standards that schools are held to as well, because it's important to have standards as well. And then if you don't have access to a school in your region of the world, because some might not have as big a film industry as, say, Los Angeles or in Canada or London or Vancouver or wherever, then there's the way to do it is online, and there are forums available. You have the CG Society forum obviously, but we also have the SideFX forum. There's another famous forum which is Oddforce, which is also a great Houdini forum, and the community is really sharing with knowledge. And it's a community, so that means as an individual, as a learning student, you should be out there sharing, trying, asking questions, and putting your effects on Vimeo and seeing what the feedback might be, and start networking, because it is a small world. The Houdini world is a small crowd, but even when you do small things as a student, you're starting to stand out, and you're going to get noticed, and then people might know you before they actually meet you. Yes, and that's a very big part of our community. Sure. So.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Everything Peter said. The only other thing I'd sort of add to that is my own kind of like personal spruiking thing, which is when I started learning this a couple of years ago. So again, I was meant to be sort of supervising a team of really talented Houdini people, and I was a fraud. I knew nothing, they knew everything, and I thought, right, I've got to get up to speed super quickly. So every time I would ask them a question of, how do I do this, I would write it down on my website, because I've got a terrible short-term memory. So I would, and a way to kind of codify it, I would make a little animated GIF and a little piece of text and a scene file, and then the next day I'd write another one, and the next day another one. And sort of before I knew it, I had a whole site full of maybe like 60, 70, 80 little examples. And then, to my even sort of greater surprise, other people began to find it really organically. So even stranger still, if you just type CG Wiki into Google, that's the first hit. So I think the weirdest thing of all was that I was walking around here yesterday, and someone kind of eyed my name tag and went, "Oh, you're the CG Wiki guy." Wow. I went, "Yeah," and he said, "I was trying to do this effect and I couldn't work it out, but I went to your site and you had the perfect example and solved the thing." I was like, "Oh, that's cool." So it seems to be popular, and people seem to be able to get knowledge out of it really quickly. So yeah.
That's great. Well, I want to thank you both so much for your time. This is such valuable feedback, definitely for our users and for the junior artists out there or people who might be thinking about learning Houdini. Definitely don't give it a second thought. Sounds like studios are hungry for it, and we've learned from two people who would definitely be the ones to tell you. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of your show.